Hi boys and girls, welcome back. I'm glad you joined me this week. This week we're going to be talking about the last two systems of the human body that I'm going to be covering, and that's the nervous and the digestive system. We'll start with the nervous system. None of your body system could work without the help of your nervous system. It controls all parts of your body. Your nervous system is constantly receiving message from your body and sending out responses. Your brain is the control center of your nervous system. It and all other parts of the system are made up of nerve cells or neurons. The brain uses information it gets from your body to direct how each body system works. Your brain gets information from sense organs, eyes, ears, your tongue, and your nose. Your body has nerves or groups of neurons that pass along information. Your spinal cord, otherwise known as your backbone, connects the nerves and the rest of the body to your brain. Information from your body travels to your brain, then it acts on that information and sends a message back. So which body part tells a batter whether or not to swing at a ball? You're right, the brain. Okay, to protect itself, the body must notice things that touch it. Some parts of the body have a better sense of touch than others. In this investigation, we're going to first predict which of the three areas of your body is the most sensitive to touch. What we're going to need is a metric ruler that measures centimeters, a pen or pencil, some tape, it doesn't have to be Scotch tape, but some kind of tape, and some toothpicks. We're only going to need 8, and then we need an index card, okay? Now, the first thing we want to do is make a chart like this one. And then we're going to measure the distance between toothpicks when two are first felt together. We're going to measure the palm, the lower arm, and the upper arm. We're going to make a prediction first, if we think that's going to be easier, more sensitive touches, easier to feel, or harder, or whatever. So then we'll do the actual one. Okay, I'm just going to get you started on it. That's not something that I can do by myself. That you almost have to have a partner with you. Okay, so the first thing I do is I take my pen and my ruler, metric ruler, and my little index card, and I measure on one side of it. I did the end because it's less. The space of 1 centimeter, and I mark it. Okay. Then on another side I do 2, and then I do 5, and then on the long side I do 8, because it goes almost, well, it doesn't go that far, but it's a lot farther than some of the other ones. Once I've made those marks, I take my toothpicks and I put them so they stick out about 1 or 2 centimeters. I don't know if you can see that. So they're sticking out. And they have to be straight. Once you get those done, you put some tape over those so they'll stay. And make sure they're sticking out straight. You want your 2 toothpicks on each side that are the same distance apart to both be sticking straight out and taped on. Okay? And when you're done, you'll have something that looks like this. Okay? So here's your 1 centimeter distance. Here's your 2 centimeters, your 5 centimeters, and your 8 centimeters. And you've got your toothpicks sticking out so they can actually touch when you do your skin. So the first thing you'll do is predict. Do you think that 1, 2, 5, or 8 centimeters are going to be felt sooner than the others? And when I say felt, I mean when you touch. And you can have your partner do that. So you don't watch when they touch you, because if you do, then you're going to say, yes, I felt that. And you may not feel it if you don't see what's happening. And then you'll do the the lower arm, and then the upper arm. And be sure that you record each one. Then you'll do the next length, and then finally the longest length, the 8 centimeters. Don't forget to fill in your chart. All right, once you've done that, let's talk about which of the body parts felt the 2 toothpicks the shortest distance apart. So what that means is when you had your toothpicks very, very close together, 1 centimeter, which part, your palm, your lower arm, or your upper arm felt it first? And then based on this test, which of these body parts would you infer has the best sense of touch? And you can explain that. Using what you observed in this observation, which part of the body do you predict to be more sensitive? Your fingertip or the back of your neck? Now what I observed was the farthest distance I felt the most. But that's just me. It might not be like you. You might feel when it's very, very close, you might feel that faster than you do the other ones. So this is just like a little sense of touch test. And you can do this with a partner, or I guess you could do it on yourself with a blindfold, which I put as optional. All right, have fun if you get to do that. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about for the nervous system. Our next one is the digestive system. The digestive system provides nutrients to all the body systems. It does this by breaking down or digesting the food you eat into nutrients your body cells can use. Digestion begins in your mouth. When you chew, your teeth grind up food into small pieces. The saliva in your mouth softens the food and begins to digest it. After you swallow, the food enters the esophagus. The esophagus is a tube that connects your mouth to your stomach. The action of smooth muscles in your esophagus moves the food down to your stomach. The stomach is a bag of smooth muscles. They squeeze the food and mix it with digestive juices. The juices, or enzymes, digest some parts of the food, then it's mixed and squeezed until it becomes mostly liquid. The liquid food then passes into the small intestine. That's more than 20 feet long tube of muscle. This rope is not even 20 feet long, and it just goes on and on and on, and it just goes around and round inside your body here, kind of toward the bottom, below your stomach, and it's like what they call your guts. Okay, that's your guts. But, you know, it doesn't look exactly like this. All right. The small intestine does more than any other part of the digestive system to digest food. The nutrients from the digested food pass through the walls of the small intestine. We're going to pretend this is the small intestine. Into capillaries. Remember, those are those tiny, 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 tiny little blood vessels. Blood carries these nutrients to the body cells. The last part of the digestive system is the large intestine. The large intestine is where most food that reaches this organ can't be broken down anymore. But water is removed, and what's left of the food travels through the large intestine until it passes out of your body. You know what I'm talking about. What part of the digestive system does most to digest food? I think you said small intestine, and you'd be right. You'd be right. You'd be right. Okay, well, let's go ahead and do a little activity involving our digestive system. This is called Saliva Makes It Sweet. Digestion of starch. The first steps in digestion take place in your mouth as your teeth cut, tear, and grind the food, while the tongue mashes the food against the roof of your mouth. Saliva is squirted into the food to moisten and soften it. The mouth makes close to 1/2 quart of saliva each day. The saliva contains chemicals called enzymes, which help break down the starch into sugar, and that's called amylase. How does the saliva help digest food? The only thing you're going to need for this experiment are some saltine crackers, but they need to be unsalted. Okay? First thing you're going to do is take several bites of an unsalted soda cracker and chew it thoroughly, but do not swallow it. That's the tough part. You need to keep it in your mouth for about 5 minutes. I know it's gross, but... Ooh, small intestine, get out of here. Oof, yeah. Okay. As the cracker remains in your mouth, see if you can detect any change in its taste. It should start tasting a little bit different. After you've done that for 5 minutes, let's think about it. Did you detect any change in the taste of the cracker? Assistant? Is it changing a little bit? Okay. Now, what do you think the saliva does to the starch in the cracker that makes it change, if indeed it does change for you? So you get to have at least one cracker, but you're going to find that it's a lot more fun to chew your food and then swallow it instead of keeping it in your mouth. That's pretty creepy, but that's what you have to do so you can just sense the difference between the starch and the sweet taste that it will get. And bon appetit, have fun with it. Okay, the second activity I'm going to do as a demonstration. You can also do it later if you want. You can get all the materials you need. This is talking about before the body can use the food, it must be broken down and absorbed into the bloodstream from the small intestine. Proteins, which are found in foods like meat and eggs, are broken down by enzymes in the small intestine. One enzyme that helps digest protein is called papain. That's found in meat tenderizer. Okay? How do enzymes help us digest proteins? What we will need is, it says 2 to 4 teaspoons of ground meat, or it could be lunch meat. I happen to have some frozen meatballs, so I defrosted them, and I have 2 of them, because I'm going to need one for one jar and one for the other one. So just regular meatballs. Okay, they can be cooked or uncooked, it really doesn't matter. Okay, then I need 2 small jars with lids. I've got my jars here. Okay, and 1 teaspoon of ADOS meat tenderizer. And I'm not trying to give a plug for ADOS, but it's very hard to find. People buy better cuts of meat these days, so they don't need meat tenderizer. This particular one does not have papain. It has bromelain, but it'll do the same job. It might just take a little longer. Okay, so the first thing we'll do is we'll put the meatball in one jar with water. That's all we're going to do with that one. We're going to label that water. And I did that. Oops, that's the wrong one. I did that a few days ago. So this will end up saying water. Okay, and that's all that's going to go in there. The second one, same amount of water, just to control, so there won't be any variables. We'll put the meatball in there, full of water. And before we put the lid on, we're going to add a teaspoon of ADOS tenderizer. It's a lot easier to take the lid off instead of doing it the way I was going to. And it doesn't really matter if you get it perfect or not. It's just going to show what happens when the enzyme is in direct contact with the meat after a few days. All right, then this one I will label proteins. Now, after 2 or 3 days, maybe a little bit longer if you want to see dramatic results, you'll take a look, and like I showed before the water, it's still the meatball. Nothing really happened to it. The reason it's red is it had a little bit of blood in there, meat. And then this one, the proteins, you can see how it's already started to break down, and it's not all together anymore. It hasn't broken down as much as it would in your small intestine, but the protein one definitely will break down. It just takes a few days. All right, so if you can get your hands on 2 jars, you don't need 4, I'm just showing you the after effects. 2 jars with lids, and maybe your mom has some meatballs, or you can get a little bit of lunch meat or ground beef, and the meat tenderizer. That's the toughest. I bought mine at Walmart. It was on the Google. It said get it at Walmart. And you can do this on your own. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the results. After you're done, or my results with these 2 that sat around for a few days. Okay, did you detect any differences between the meat in the 2 jars? If so, describe. And yes, I did. The protein one, the one that had the meat tenderizer, started to break down. The other one, not so much. It just, some of the color got taken out. How do you think papain helps in the digestion of proteins? Well, we can see that it does. It's just very slow. But once again, I couldn't find papain, so I had to use bromelase, which is another type of meat tenderizer, and it will also do the same job, just takes a little longer. Okay, boys and girls, let's wrap this up. All right, with a summary here, the brain sends messages to and from all parts of the body through the spinal cord and nerves. It controls the way all other body systems work. The digestive system breaks down food to prevent nutrients, or to provide nutrients for all the body cells. The blood carries these nutrients to every cell in your body. Review questions time. Number 1. How does the brain connect with other parts of the body? Give you a little hint. Nervous system. Number 2. What gives information to the brain? Your body through the neurons. Number 3. Where does digestion begin? Your mouth. Number 4, which part of the digestive system makes food mostly liquid? A, stomach, B, esophagus, C, small intestine, or D, large intestine? If you said large intestine, you would be correct. That's the last part of the digestive system that we're going to talk about in this lesson. Okay? Okay, I want to remind you, boys and girls, if you made the flat book about the human body systems, that now you can finish with the nervous system and the digestive system. You have to have the pages, so you'll need to download those from the YouTube lesson and the attachment. It's in the description part. And some things we have some puzzles and some information sheets. And of course, I always give you the answers at the end. Don't use them unless you need to. Okay, I want to remind you, if you have comments, suggestions, you'd rather me teach a different kind of lesson or whatever, go ahead and email me, sciencegranny50@gmail.com. I really like to hear some comments on my email and some suggestions. You know, I'm good. I can take it. I'm, old enough. I'm not going to get my feelings hurt. So please do. Otherwise, I'll see you again next week. And you can watch my videos every Friday after 2 o'clock. All right, I'm signing off for now. I'll see you next week. Don't forget to be awesome.